Okay, says I'm live now. Again, still not used to this whole streaming thing. Don't know with the delay how long it takes before we're live. But heyo everybody, Haku here with character tier list for Omniscient Reader or Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. As of chapter 109, I'm extremely excited to get into this, excited to do it live so I can talk with all of you, and yeah, I don't know, I guess that's about it. Folded Goal says you're, hey Folded Goal. Yeah, so welcome everybody, and I guess I'm just gonna get into it. Before I do, let me know if hello Lucky. Lucky says hello, or Lucky. Again, I always default to Lucky. That's what my brain goes for, but I'm not 100% sure on the pronunciation. But yeah, hello everybody. I'm excited to get into this because I feel like I did a character ranking at like chapter 50, right? And when I did the character ranking at like chapter 50, I feel like I didn't know very much about most of the characters other than like Dokja, but now things have like gone so far in just 59 more chapters where now I'm like, there's this core handful of characters that are like really, really, really good. And then there are like characters on the periphery that haven't really done or said much, but this main core group of characters is just like really, really good. So I'm excited. I tried not to think about this too much ahead of time because I didn't want to like, you know, run through all my thoughts beforehand and then like not be running through them here on stream for all of you. Also, yeah, like I said, let me know what you think of the audio if I need to mess with anything. Or do you like this full screen here? Or do you want to have it a little bit larger and have my face in one of the corners? Let me know what you want in terms of that, what you think is best. I'll leave it on full screen just for now until anybody says that they're interested in me changing it, just so you can see like everything. But yeah, either way, I guess one of the first things that I had to do here, big thank you to Lucky for making this and for making the template here. And I had to, one of the things I always do for any template is I always go and change the colors around a little bit, because I feel like for your like default template that they always give you, it's like you got like orange beside light orange, green and blue beside similar greens and blues. I like to flip the colors around so it's like more distinct. But also I threw in an S+. I don't know if I'm actually going to need an S+. Lucky says, I like the larger version so I can see the characters better. I can switch to that though. I think maybe top right is maybe the best place to put my camera. Hang on, let me put my camera top right. I think that's probably the best. I don't think we'll block too many characters here. I had to add an S+. I'm not sure if I should really be using the S+, like when I should just use S for the best characters, but I threw it in just in case I wanted to use it. And I think I'll go from like bottom to top for these characters just so I'm hitting like the main characters last. I usually do that kind of thing because I feel like it's more exciting to save those characters. So let me go to here, and then FR Nono is here. Hello FR Nono. So yeah, we'll start at the bottom with Paul, I guess. So Paul, I think, was a good kind of antagonist. I didn't really think much of Paul as an actual character at first. Up until just recently, I was like, oh, they're just a part of the Dokubi system. But like when you look back, when Paul is actually given a name, it's like he was there for the dragon stuff. He was there for so many big points, there for a lot of the calamity stuff. He's really just been present for a long time within the story. So I think that of course you love to hate him as a bad guy, but I don't think that he's a bad character. I don't like him. He's a jerk, so it's like I'm not going to put him too highly just because he's a jerk. But I think B tier. I think solid antagonistic character, but I don't like him, so that's where he ends up. Then we have, I think, Dokgak. You're going to have to help me with names here and there probably, just because I feel like I'm not one of those people. I watch a lot of videos and stuff where people are like, like he says, I still can't get over his name being just Paul. Honestly, that makes it easier to remember, because I'm not usually one of those people. I watch a lot of read-throughs, a lot of videos where people are like, "Oh, I'm bad with names." I'm typically not bad with names in like fantasy series and stuff. If it's just like a modern series where we use like modern American names, then it's a little bit harder to tell apart than like crazy fantasy names. But at least I'm used to the name structure and everything. But in Omniscient Reader, a lot of the characters have fairly normal Korean names, and because of that, they have a lot of similar elements that make the names up, and I feel like I have struggled with names in ORV like I haven't really struggled with names in any other series before, just because I guess they're just mostly like normal Korean names. But I do believe Dokgak is this one. I liked Dokgak more than Paul. Even though Dokgak in reality played much less of a role, I think Dokgak had much more of a personality. I liked the Gamtu stuff with Dokja, and I also really like the design. I don't know, does Dokgak actually only have one leg, or is it just that they only have one leg out at a time and the other one's always up in their cloak, like a Hoot Hoot from Pokemon situation? I think that Dokgak is probably my favorite Dokkaebi design. I think. Character, I'm so terrible. I'm almost like, should I go in S, when really it's not like the character's done that much. I'm gonna stick with A for now. Now our first S, maybe if I decide to put a couple into S plus, they might go into S plus, is Bi Young. Bi Young is one of my absolute favorite characters. I love Bi Young from the start of the series until now. The design is so cute, is so great. Again, I kind of like Dokgak's design a little bit more, but Bi Young is the default. Bi Young is like our first real Dokkaebi character. I love all of the like cute scenes, all of the funny scenes that we get with Bi Young. I love Bi Young's relationship with Dokja. That's really good. There's some serious moments that are really good. I just don't really have anything negative to say. I know we're running into a situation where Bi Young, much like all the other Dokkaebi, are terrible people to a certain degree because they're forcing the humans to kill each other and die in this horrible game. But despite being a terrible person, I do still love Bi Young as a character a lot. And really, I think most of our characters are going to run into some moral issues. Like he says, yeah, Dokgak only has one leg. See, I thought so, but I was never sure. Like when I was doing the reactions and everything, I was never sure. I was like, I think Dokgak only has one leg, but it could just be a one leg is hidden Hoot Hoot situation. Like he says, it's a nod to how Dokkaebi sometimes have one leg in Korean folktales. That's very, very cool. Again, I think that Dokkaebi is creatures like the original Korean goblin Dokkaebi. I think it's really cool, and I love that we have ORV as a Korean story pulling from that, and that makes me wonder kind of actually. We know that we're at the Soul Dome now, but there are different domes over different areas of the world. Is this like Korean centric and there are Dokkaebi in each of those domes, or are there different creatures depending on the culture for different domes, or is it the same creatures but they call them different things in different domes? Like they're the same creatures everywhere, but Korean people call them Dokkaebi, whereas other, like, I don't know, Japanese might call them yokai. Seems too broad. I don't know if there'd be something more specific they'd call them, or maybe somebody in Europe would call them like a sprite or a fairy or something. So is it like the same creature but with different names, or is it just Dokkaebi for everyone? Is something that I've just now thought about for the first time. Like he says, Bi Young, he's also one of my favorites. Also, I forgot to mention in the intro here that I wanted to talk about it when I did this stream, like when I was first planning to do it last week, but I had to push back a week. We have an anime announcement. I'm really, 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 really excited for ORV's anime, just because, well, I'm excited for it because I think that it can be like really high level. I think it can be really good. but I do think there are some kind of unique issues that ORV runs into. One big issue is that the art is so good. The art is so good in ORV that it's like you have to really work to make it look better in animation. Like, it's going to be one of those things where it's like, yes, it's moving, but there are going to be a lot of people, if it doesn't look really, really good, who are just going to be like, the webtoon adaptation looks better, because the art is just that good in the webtoon adaptation. In addition to that, I think that it's one of those kinds of series where anime onlys could go into it and just think, oh, it's a generic this or a generic that, and isekai or a survival game, when it is kind of those things, but it is also a lot more things. I think that, again, as somebody who just started reading relatively recently, it's been over a year now, but again, relatively recently, all things considered, it feels like it can be overwhelming at first. A lot of different concepts get thrown at you very early on, but it's one of those things where I feel like a lot of people could get overwhelmed at first by everything going on, but once you kind of get filtered through, and if you stick with it through those things, it just gets so much better as everything comes together. All the things that are being thrown at the wall come together. So I do think it runs into some... It's both incredibly good and I think easy for people to enjoy in a lot of different ways, which could lead to it having like mainstream success, but also it runs into its own set of unique issues for an anime. Drifted says that would make sense if they'd call them differently. In physical print, they're called goblins. Okay, so they use actual goblins in physical print. Yeah, so I wonder, same creatures everywhere, it's just different cultures call them different things. Drifted also says, I'm worried with how they'll implement the constant screen pop-ups and notifications. I actually hope they keep that the way that the manhwa webtoon does. I actually like that in the manhwa webtoon, and I think it could work like that for anime. You just always have these pop-ups on screen of that could actually be very, very cool in anime too, where you've got the story going on and we're watching the story go on, but as we're watching the story go on, we're having the pop-ups like chat boxes from all of the constellations, so it looks like, you know, we're constellations watching on and we're just seeing the chat boxes pop up as we're watching. I think that could actually be done really creatively and really well. But either way, got distracted a little bit because I forgot to mention that in the intro. But continuing on past our Dokubi characters, we've got some of our world hopping characters. His name started with an M, didn't it? Myung something, maybe? I don't remember his name, the Catastrophe of Questions. I remember the Catastrophe of Questions. It was like Myung Il. It's not Myung Il Sung, because that's Il Sung is somebody else, right? But I'm pretty sure he was Myun or Myung something. But I actually really like him a lot as well. Again, Paul is a really solid, widespread antagonist, but I don't like him. Whereas I feel like the Catastrophe of Questions had less time, but was more impactful to me with less time. I think that may have even been the peak of what I've read so far. As much as I love the Catastrophe of Flood stuff, as much as I love Yusung as a character and all of the story happening now, I think the moment when ORV most hit me might have been the Dokja and Yu Jung-kyuk and Han Soo-young stuff dealing with the Catastrophe of Questions. And of course, Sang-ah was there as well. I think that stuff might have been what was hitting me hardest in my journey through ORV. Like, when I think back to stuff that really hit me most and I connected with most, it's Dokja in the belly of the ichthyosaur early on, the conversations with Byung there, meeting Hwee-won for the first time. That stuff really sticks with me, and the battle against the Catastrophe of Questions really sticks with me. And then, of course, now the Catastrophe of Flood stuff too. I think that's like the third thing to really hit me hard and stick with me, but I think I liked the Catastrophe of Questions stuff even more. So even though, again, character's kind of a bad guy, he's also a tragic figure who had a really rough story. I think that I like Dokgak more, but even though I like Dokgak a little bit more, I do like the Catastrophe of Questions. Let me check chat real quick. Yeah, Myungil Sung. So I did have it sort of similar, if not correct. But Lucky says, I hope they won't cut out the constellations in direct messages because they're sometimes really plot important. I like that too. And I like also just the stream of, I keep calling them super chats in the read through, where like, again, as the story's going on and as characters are making certain decisions, specifically Dokjo, we're getting these pop-ups like, oh, this is what this character thinks, or this is what this one thinks. Or, again, the simple act of, you got 500 coins from this constellation, or 500 from this constellation, seeing which actions or which events are leading to super chats from which constellations. Then we have Lycaon of the Immuntar. Lycaon's gone now, right? For some reason, I'm, like, not thinking properly, but Lycaon got taken out, right? I'm pretty sure Lycaon's just not here anymore. Lycaon, I think, was good, but I wish played more of a role. Like, I kind of wish that Lycaon, with the tragic backstory of the planet being destroyed and stuff, and, you know, now doesn't really, like, the catastrophe's done and doesn't really need to be a guide anymore. I would have loved if Lycaon joined the main group, and our main group branched out from being just humans, and we just had some non-human members hanging around. I think that would have been really cool, and especially having somebody whose world was destroyed, but now maybe has to find a new life in this new world. I think that could have been an interesting story to tell. So I liked Lycaon a lot. But I do think that, and I love, again, just having the non-human designs, just having some, it doesn't necessarily need to be furries, but just having some, like, non-human designs, I think, is cool. I love when fantasy stories and any kind of story doesn't just stick with humans, especially like sci-fi and stuff. Give me some weird alien designs, give me some fantasy race designs, like, branch out. Give me a lot of diversity of design. Like, in any kind of series, I think diversity of design, just having characters look different and have different backgrounds and stuff, is just more exciting. So I would have liked even more than what we got, but what we got I think was good. And I'm struggling now that I've said that. I don't know if I should go top of B or bottom of A, because I definitely would think I like Lycaon more than Paul, but I don't think Lycaon hit me as hard as a character as the Catastrophe of Questions, who I thought was a really good antagonist with a, like, who was easy to hate because he was kind of just a douchebag, but also had a tragic, like, story in all of it. And the way the entire story went in with the fight, I think, was really good. And I'm going to be personally biased. I really like Dokgak. I thought the design, the kind of, like, conniving, trying to mess with Dokja stuff was just really entertaining, and I really liked that part of the story. So even though I feel like Dokgak really hasn't done as much, I just really, really liked what Dokgak did when they were around. But then let me check chat again. And Lucky says, yeah, he died. See, I thought so. Ryan said, yeah, his character was cool because you got to see the isekai gone wrong situation. And McBrownie says, Lycaon has such a cool design as well. I love it because we didn't just get, like, generic furry guy introduced, but they really went all in to give him a cool design. And really a cool character with a cool backstory. I kind of wish we got more. Then we have the Queen. Wow, I'm forgetting her name. Oh no, I'm forgetting her name. Like, there's something about it that makes me always remember it, but now that I'm here, I'm forgetting. I remembered it when I was doing my reactions, and she was with Yusung. Is she, or no, not with Yusung, with Gil Young. Is she going to be totally destroyed now because of what happened during that fight, or can Gil Young continue to summon her? Because I think that would be a cool summon if Gil Young could, like, continue to bring her back out. But I don't know if that's going to be possible anymore. Antinous. That's right. Okay, Antinous. Wait. So Antinous was queen of the something. I wasn't thinking of Antinous. I was thinking of whatever the name of her people or whatever were actually. Now that you say Antinous, I'm like, that was her name, but that's also not what I was thinking of. I would say that she was, again, if she stuck around more and got to, like, she didn't even get as much of a backstory to me as Lycaon. If she got to stick around more and be developed more, I love her design, and I would have loved to see more of her. And again, if it's possible to see more of her, that'd be very, very cool too. But I just don't know if it's possible for her to stick around anymore. Or if she's just permanently gone too. Because it seemed like she was destroyed during that fight when Gil Young, like, brought her out. Then we have the bully guy whose name I forget. Again, we're getting into some characters who were only around for a couple chapters. I actually think, now that my, the memory's getting triggered, now that I'm thinking about him, I liked his story with Dokja a lot. Most of that, though, was him just being a jerk. Him just being awful. And Dokja kind of not really overcoming the trauma, but learning to live with the trauma. So I don't like the character. The design's very good. I don't like the character. I think he sucks, actually. I'm going to go all the way to D. Screw this guy. This guy sucks. It's like Paul sucks, but I can be like, okay, he was a pretty neat character. This guy was a neat character, sure, but screw this guy. He was awful. So yeah, I don't like him, but the design was cool, and the story surrounding Dokja was cool. But again, most of that story was Dokja being great and Su Young being great, not really this character. This character just always sucked. And then I don't remember the Chrono species names off the top of my head. Antinous did get killed by Shin Yu-sung. I thought so. Thank you, Marcus. I thought so, but I didn't know if it would be one of those situations where he could just keep, like, kind of healing and bringing her back, but I kind of assumed not. I kind of felt like she was done. She's just out of the story. But again, it just feels like, as much as I liked her, I feel like she was underwhelming. And maybe I shouldn't put her above Paul. Here, I don't know. I'm just going to put characters in tiers for now, and then, like I usually do, once everybody's on the board, I'll maybe move some characters around once they're on the board. For right now, this guy's in D tier. I don't really like him. Now, coming up, we got the Han Soo-young got a curse from him, and yeah, it was kind of iffy in the panels, but Antinous never shows up again. Yeah, it seemed like she got destroyed, and I was like, can she be undestroyed? Mick Brownie says, which demon was he under again? He was under the, wasn't he under the Abyssal Black Flame Dragon or whatever? And then, yeah, sorry. Just glancing through chat. He was under Abyssal Black Flame Dragon, right? Or am I remembering wrong? But then we have some of the prison characters. This character hasn't done anything. It's going to be hard to rank these characters because I think they're going to be important in the future, but they haven't really done anything yet. I love this character's design. I think their design is really, really, really good, but I feel like it would be, I almost want to say B tier, but I think it'd be wrong of me to put them too high when they really haven't done anything except, like, off-screen, the one calamity or catastrophe, sorry, and train with Hui Won. That's really all they've done. And then we have the person I'm assuming is Dokja's mom, who also just, I'm excited for both of these characters in the future, but for where I am right now at chapter 109, they just haven't done anything yet. Let's see. And then Architect of Discord was who cursed Su Young. Okay. For some reason, I didn't remember the exact specific one. And then we have, oh gosh, who was this guy again? He was the guy that Dokja knew from his previous life, who we went and he was still hanging out at the office for some reason, even though we're like, what? A couple, like, by then we were like a month or a couple months at least into the end of the world, right? And he's hanging out at the office, and they have all the people in the slave cages or making them fight each other and stuff. Yeah, screw this guy. This guy sucked. And he wasn't even like a cool design or anything. This guy was just like an actually evil person. He was just an actual bad guy. I'll keep him out of F tier because he is like still well written to some degree. Bringing in somebody who was one of Dokja's co-workers if I'm remembering correctly. And having him serve that role in the story, I think is good. I think that's good writing, but he himself as a person, as a character, sucks. I don't like him. And then, like he says, yeah, his office buddy. Then we've got Yoo Jun-kyuk's little sister, who is another... I'm maybe more excited for her than I am for the prison gang, but she has also not done anything yet. So I'm going to put these three all into C tier, where I have no reason to dislike them. In fact, I like them from what teeny bit we got already, and I really, really want to see more of them, but I would feel wrong putting them above C tier, given that they just really have not done anything yet. Particularly. Then this guy, was he... I don't remember. Was he one of the kings or working for one of the kings? I don't 100% remember. So when Dokja first meets this guy with the gold chain, who this is recurring. I always forget his name. The guy that's always with Mean Sub. I always forget his name. When Dokja first meets him, they go back. And is that where they meet this guy and this guy gets killed, maybe? Again, I don't 100% remember this guy. Like, I think I kind of do, but I'm not 100% sure. One of the prophets. Oh, was he the prophet that was there during the dragon thing? That was kind of testing Dokja's knowledge? Is that the one he was? Sorry, I ask a question, then I have to wait a little while because of the delay. Just going to wait a second. Was he the one that was with the dragon, and then Dokja, he talks to him, and he seems kind of suspicious and all of that? Was that it? The guy who's fighting the fire dragon at the station, he got killed during the dragon. Okay, so he is the one I'm thinking of. I think I could put him in F tier, just because he literally shows up and gets killed, pretty much. And while he's not as bad a person just off rip as the two I have in D tier, the two I have in D tier, I at least liked as bad people. They were good characters to bounce off of Dokja. They were good characters to help with Dokja's story. Whereas this guy was just kind of nothing. This guy didn't really mean anything to me. And then we have Mean Sub, who I like. He's kind of goofy. He kind of doesn't really do a lot, but I like him. I would put him above Antinous, but below Lycaon. And if he gets to do more in the future, he hasn't really been that important yet, but if he gets to do more in the future, I could see him getting moved up even higher. I like his design a lot. So, yeah, I'd like to see more. And then we have, I don't know if I should put him in Who tier, just because I obviously remember everything that happens with him, but I literally never remember his name. Never. I'm like, oh, is it something with an M? Something with an H? But then, almost every character in this have names that start with M's or H's. So that really doesn't help much. I never, ever remember his name. But I like him too. Not as much as Mean Sub. I think he's a solid C tier, but I'm not as excited for him as these other three. I think he's funny. He's used his comedy relief a bit, but he's just a guy, really. He's very, as much as he does, he's forgettable. I can never remember him. Random Prophet number 4. I can never remember him. Then we have the Internet King. I don't remember his name either, because when he first showed up, I thought he was going to do more, but he has been off screen for nearly the entire series. I like him. I want to see more from him. I think his concept is good. I think his design is good. He's a real team player helping connect everybody, but at the same time, and his powers neat, just internet connection powers, but he also just doesn't do much yet. He's just been off screen the whole time. B tier seems a bit much. I'll put him top of C. I love him as a concept, but we just really haven't seen him do anything. And then I don't remember any of the prophets' names, only Han Se-young. Yeah, I don't blame you. And then this guy was one of the other prophets, right? Or was he one of the kings? Oh gosh, I barely remember. This other guy was one of the random kings that fought during the stone thousand soldier. Well, no, they went to the thousand soldier dungeon, then they went to the other dungeon where they had to fight through and all the kings gathered and everything. He was one of the kings during that, but he didn't do anything. Guy did literally nothing. And then there's the Tyrant King, who also does literally nothing, but I love his design. His design's amazing. And him doing literally nothing is kind of a part of it. It's kind of a part of the character. The character was meant to be a threat, meant to be built up. You're going to be scared of this guy. You're going to think, what's this guy going to do to our main characters? And then he gets one shot to show how cool Yu Jung-hyuk is. So I kind of feel like, in a way, that's like kind of well written in and of itself. I actually kind of want to put him at bottom of B tier, just because again, at first I was disappointed at him getting taken out without doing anything, but now I just like the idea of building up this threat and having him have a cool design that you could think, oh, he's main character tier, and then having him get instantly taken out to further the story. I really don't hate that anymore. I really like that writing now, just because the art's so good and all of the character designs are so good. Marcus says the Earth Dragon guy, poor guy, and then McBrownie, poor guy, got used as a shield by Dokja. And then, hold on, what'd Lucky say? Do Young, I think that was his name. Yeah. So I like Tyrant King, and his role in the story, as brief as it was. And it might seem dumb to put him as high as B tier, but I don't know, I like him. This character, though, yeah, I really don't 100% remember him, other than being like one of the prophets or one of the kings or whatever. I kind of remember where they show up, but I don't really remember what they do or anything whatsoever. Then we have the one guy, he was Han something, right? He was Han something with an M, I think. He is, again, kind of just a background king, doesn't really do much. I think, now that I'm seeing who I was going to say C tier, but now that I'm seeing who I have in C tier, I'm going to go down to top of D, where I don't dislike him, but at the same time, I just think these C tier characters are more interesting to me personally. From there, we have... is this Min Ji-won? I really like... Yeah, this is Min Ji-won, right? I'm looking to see if I don't see her anywhere else. I like Min Ji-won a lot. I would actually put her in A. I'd put her above these. I think she's really cool. I want to actually see more of her. I'd put her here below Dokgak, but above the Catastrophe of Questions. I really, really liked her for what role she did have in the story, and I want to see more. Then next, I think, is Gong Pil-do. Yeah, I think this is Gong Pil-do. I think he's neat. I don't think he's that cool or whatever. I think he's pretty neat, though. I'd put him below Paul, but above the Tyrant King. Let me check and see what else I have going on here. Sorry, just checking chat and everything. All right. Then we have him and this guy. This guy, was he part of the Min Ji-won historical recreation thing? Is that what he was a part of? Or was he one of the random prophets? Or was he one of the kings that just gets taken out? Again, I might have to put him in Who tier as well. I don't really have... I'm sorry. Like, I feel bad not having just a photographic memory of all of this. Because I'm used to, for Tower of God, I've read Tower of God like probably 12.5 times. Maybe going on 24 times. I have a intimate knowledge of like every tiny little aspect of Tower of God, so I'm used to being able to just bring up anything and know what I'm talking about. So I'm not used to, for some of these series, with it being my first time reading through, not having that level of knowledge. I'm not used to going into a video or a stream and not having that level of knowledge. But yeah, I really don't remember him very well. Like he says, he was the guy who monopolized all the food in the station. Okay. Still vaguely remembering. Also said King of Beauty Love. She's pretty cool. I really like her. Beatrice Segovia said, nope, he was the leader of the group where Dokja found Huimon. Okay. He was the one with Insight. I thought we were kind of going in in a different order. So we have like main group and then, okay, so I thought he would have been earlier in the list we have. Okay, so I remember him. His name started with an I, right? So he was the guy with Inside. His name started with an I. It was like, it's not Il-sung because there's another character that's Il-sung. Was it Eyoung? I don't remember. But I'm thinking maybe bottom of D, actually. I'm actually not... Oh, actually, no. He was really awful. He was really awful, and he was so forgettable, I forgot what he looked like. I think it's because I remember him more from like a forward-facing perspective, maybe when he was first introduced, and I thought his hair was a little bit darker than that. But yeah, I can totally put him in F. I don't like the guy. And then Dokja had him in the book. Inho, that's what it was. I knew it started with an I. So Inho-chan. Okay. Got it. And then this guy, I don't remember. Is this the guy that is like talking trash when Dokja first shows up to the station after he rescues Huiwon and he just gets like one shot? If so, bottom of F tier. Because again, the group did horrible, horrible things. Again, they were hinting at even like some of the worst things to Huiwon. So like those two, they were part of like maybe the worst group we've met so far. Plus he was a jerk. Plus he was lame. Didn't get a cool backstory or anything. Screw this guy, I think. Pretty sure that's who that guy was. And then I think this is Anna Croft up next. Sorry, just checking things here and there. So Anna Croft, I don't know where I want to put her. Because am I going to be kind of like hypocritical putting her above C? I think to me, she has this hype and aura built up around her more than the three characters I put in C tier who haven't done much yet. She hasn't really done much yet, but there's just so much build up for her. There is so much build up for her. She looks very cool. She's clearly going to be extremely important. And I think that, you know, eventually we're going to have the different domes interacting with each other. We're going to have her involved in the main story at some point eventually, I'm assuming. She's just a really important character, and I think the hints we've had have really built her up. Plus the slight interactions we've had with Dokja have really built her up. I don't think she's done enough for me to put above characters who have actually done things and been around, like Gong Kil-do or like Paul, but I would put her above Tyrant King, is where I think I'd go for now. And then Beatrice says, yeah, that's Anna. And then, yeah, King of the Small Fries says Lucky. So again, yeah, I did remember what happened with him. Then we have some of the constellations. I believe these are all the ones that have been hanging around from the beginning here. So this one is, hold on, you're going to have to maybe help me with some of these. So this one's Uriel. This one's Secretive Plotter. This one's Sun Wukong. This one's the Abyssal Black Flame Dragon or whatever. Then who are these other two? Oh, is this Olympus? Actually, this is Ariadne, isn't it? Okay, sorry, these are the five we've had from the beginning, and this one's Ariadne. Ariadne, where would I go? It's gonna sound weird saying I'm less interested than I was in the Tyrant King, given that, like, whoa, the gods of Olympus, that's crazy stuff. I'm actually not that into the gods of Olympus. Like, I don't care that much. I wouldn't go D tier. I might go D tier. I'm actually not that interested in Ariadne, to tell you the truth. Which is crazy, because Sanga's powers are cool and all, but I'm not that interested. I would actually say D tier is kind of harsh. Maybe I should have some hot takes every once in a while. I'll go harsh. I'll go D tier. I don't care that much about Ariadne, truth be told. I won't say anything about Anna because spoilers, but I really like her design in the webtoon. Yeah, I feel like she's going to be really, really, really important, and I'd love to put her higher. I just don't think she's really been around enough yet, even though I do like the conversation and the stuff we got with Dokja. Then next, this is the only one I'm forgetting. Who's the one on the end? I'm trying to go through my head, because we always get Abyssal Black Flame Dragon, we always get Demonic Judge of Fire, who is Uriel. We always get Prisoner of the Golden Headband, which is Sun Wukong. We always get Secretive Plotter. And then I don't remember what the other one that we always get is. I know that there's 5 that we've always had from the beginning, but for some reason I'm forgetting one. And then Beatrice says, fuck Olympus. Good. That's right. That's right. That's my hot take. Fuck Olympus. You're getting thrown in D tier. Who is the last one? Or is this just Jihye's? Have there only been 4 from the beginning and I'm just misremembering it as 5? Yeah, maybe there's only been 4 and this is Jihye's. We also have the bald leader of the Peasants' Army isn't here. I mean, they probably just would have got thrown in like C or D, who cares kind of tier anyway. This is Jihye's naval warfare god, right? He possessed Dokja in the fight where he helped Ji-won. Okay, so this isn't naval warfare god. This is the sword of... No, the sword was the one that Ji-won's like ally had. This was like the actual general. I think that the stuff with Dokja was neat. Neat enough that I would say I'm more interested in seeing more out of these 3 characters than what I liked of their role in the story. But their role in the story and interaction with Dokja was neat enough that I would put them... It seems weird to put them above Olympus. I don't know. I just don't trust or like the gods of Olympus from what we've seen so far. But I would put them above guy whose name I always forget. Then I should have added the constellations, but they don't have... It's fine. It's totally fine, Lucky. Again, like I said, they would have just got thrown into who cares tier anyway. I really wanted to include constellation that likes to change genders. Yeah, it's one of those things where... you can't really include it if we haven't had a picture yet without being spoilery, so I get it. And also, like, most of them haven't really done enough that I would put them in anything past, like, C or D tier anyway, so they would just kind of get thrown in mid-tier anyway. Next we have Prisoner of the Golden Headband, Sun Wukong. I think this is a hot take. I am usually Sun Wukong'd out. Every time I see another story, another game, another anything, where it's like, we're including Sun Wukong's mythology, or the character himself, I am just like, I have seen so much of it at this point that I'm kind of Sun Wukong'd out. But I actually think that the inclusion and use of Sun Wukong in ORV is one of my favorites ever. I think the new game coming out, or maybe it already came out and I'm just late because I don't ever get a chance to play video games. I think the, like, what is it, like, Fallen Dynasty or something? I think that looks very good. But I think this is one of my favorite interpretations of Sun Wukong. So it being one of my favorite interpretations, I like him. I like his messages a lot too. The character in general so far I like. I might even go above Antinous, below Minsub. I think that's where I'd go. And I'm almost thinking, now looking at this and seeing how stacked B tier is, I almost want to move Lycaon up to A tier. Yeah, I can move Lycaon up to A tier. I like the creativity of using Lycaon. I don't know about Minsub. I considered moving Minsub and Sun Wukong up to A tier as well, but I don't know yet. We'll have to see. Like I said, I'll just go through. Bro's always just pulling out his hair. True. Again, I'll maybe reorder once I get everybody on the board a bit. Secretive Plotter is, I think, built up from the very beginning of the series, constantly built up as, like, the most important. Like, they're called secretive, but we have had the least information given to us about them. We have seen them say a lot from the very start of the series, but we have been told, or like actually given, so little. And I think it's very clear, again, the way characters like Dokja react to the Secretive Plotter and sort of what they say, how and when they donate. It's clear that they feel like the most important to me. I do want to put them in A tier just because I think they are the most compelling of these that we've seen, of the constellations that we've had from the beginning. I would go here, maybe, because I think Min Ji-won, to me, showed us more of her character, and I liked more of her character in the actual concrete physical present of the story, whereas most of my love for Secretive Plotter is less concrete, is more just based on the vibes and the little that we've got so far. Secretive Plotter, always plotting, Lucky saying my profile picture. Vinicius Enrique saying the constellation that likes to change genders is going to be hilarious much more ahead, but to the next few arcs, so its placement's fair. And then he's here to see some chaos, and we support him for it. So then we have Uriel, I believe, is the demonic judge of fire. I like Uriel a lot too. I would put Uriel A tier. I think there's almost a part of me that likes certain aspects of Uriel's character that we've seen so far more than Secretive Plotter's, but I think Secretive Plotter has more interesting stuff in the future to look forward to. I'd actually put them side by side. I like both of them. And Uriel is Uriel also Huiwon's constellation, or is that another of the archangels? I don't remember. So again, correct me in chat. Beatrice says my adorable angel. Lucky says Uriel, love her. I really do like Uriel. I think Uriel, again, they're tiny bits that I like more than Secretive Plotter, but it's just they're too close to really decide between. I would give Secretive Plotter a slight edge, but they're both around the same place. And yeah, like I said, I think they're also Huiwon's. Venetia says Secretive Plotter is my favorite, getting more and more interesting ahead, but no spoilers. And then we have the Abyssal Black Flame Dragon, who I think this is one that I would say is more comparable with Sun Wukong. I think some of Sun Wukong's interactions and chat messages have been funner, but I think Abyssal Black Flame Dragons have been funner in some spaces too. So they're kind of like, there's some things I like more about each of them. I kind of, just on like the whole edgelord, like gaining followers and evil alignment, chaos alignment stuff, I think is fun. I think I would actually go above mean sub for Abyssal Black Flame Dragon. Then let me check again. And then, yeah, Uriel is Huiwon's constellation. Okay. Thank you everybody for letting me know. Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was specifically Uriel. I thought it was, but I was like, we do have some other archangels like kind of mentioned, so I was like, maybe I'm remembering wrong, but wasn't quite sure. Then we have Mr. Han from the beginning. I always called him Mr. Han. I think that's what he was called in the actual translation, right? So I never really got his given name down. He was kind of like comedy relief in the early game and kind of a jerk, but not like the worst person ever. He hasn't been around in a while, but I don't know if it's possible that we would ever see him again. Dokja kind of screwed him over with a curse or something, if I remember correctly, right? I would go below Olympus. He has a less cool design than the wolf guy. I'd put him here. And I'm wondering if I should move this guy down to F. Yeah, I would actually put this guy below Inho. Inho is just such a jerk though that I don't want to put him into D. I'm going to leave him down in F. So I'll leave them there. Then we have the poison. Hold on. Before I continue on to the next character. And then let me see, Beatrice says, Abyssal Black Flame Dragons, looking at your black dragon, and I can never forget about that line. Vinicius says, if you think the dragon's funny already, you're going to love him more ahead. Lucky says, the Flame Dragon, I also like him more than some Wukong. I know people might disagree with me. And then he got cursed by Asmodeus and the famous curse. So, yeah, I agree. I would put Abyssal Black Flame Dragon, for me too, I would say above Sun Wukong, but just not by that much. They're pretty close for me. I think to me, the idea of just this cool, like, you know, edgelord dragon, to me just appeals to me more than Sun Wukong, but I think they're both great in the story that we've seen thus far. And then we have Poison Beauty, something Ilsung, right? Myeon-il-sung? No, that was somebody else. That was a catastrophe of questions. She was Il-sung, right? Not Il-sung, Il-sung, I think. I think was her name. She hasn't really done anything either. She kind of showed up. She was controlled by Antinous, so we didn't really see much of her actual character. We more just know of her connection with Jung-hyuk more than her actually doing anything. And then she was kind of off-screen to go off with Jung-hyuk. I think she's kind of meh. I am more interested in these three. I would rather see more of Jung-hyuk's sister than his love interest. I would rather see more of these two than more of her. She is around, so she's sticking around, but I just don't think that I care about her as much as some of these others. Like, I'd like to see more of Internet Kid than her. I don't know, maybe bottom of C. I might even, like, guy whose name I don't remember, if he shows up and is more comedic again, I might even be more interested in seeing more of him. So, yeah, she's just kind of mid-tier to me. Lee Sol-hwa. Wow, I was off. Wow, I was off. Yeah. And then Beatrice saying, I'm a little sad we don't see Sol-hwa too often. Yeah, from where I am so far at 109, I'm assuming since she's around Jung-hyuk and since Dokja thinking that her being around is good for his character and for Dokja's ending wants to keep her around, I'm assuming she's going to stick around because of that. But just from where I am so far, she hasn't really done anything. And not only has she not done anything, but compared to some of these other characters that haven't really done much yet either, I just think that what little she's done, what little they've done, I'm more interested in seeing them do more in the future than I am in seeing what she'll do more in the future. Even though I'm sure she will do more things in the future. Then we have Kim Na-moon, who I almost want to put in A tier. I'm going to say B, but I almost want to put an A. He was a terrible person, but I love the way that he is used in the story. The way that he is a main character. He is a part of Jung-hyuk's, like, one of his first teammates, his inner circle, and we take him out at the beginning of the story, and he continues, even without being in the story, he continues to be really important, because not only does Dokja use his abilities from time to time, but also we have so many moments where we see how the story has diverged with him not being around and how that's important to what's happening now in the story, even with the most recent arc, with the other, you know, what is it? With the other, not reincarnation, the other regression. With the other regression version of Yusung being like, where's Na-moon? Why is he not here as part of this one? And seeing how things have changed. It's like constantly important seeing how things have changed because he was taken out. And I love that bit of writing in ORV. I think he was still like kind of a jerk though. So I'll probably put him between Anna Croft and Gong Pil-do. But I love the way that he's written in the story. How he's not even around and yet he's still so important to what happens, even after being taken out so early. And then the thing about Kim Na-moon is that ... A tier would be respectable. He's very important for the plot more than you can imagine. I love that he is the first kind of antagonistic force for Dokja, and he gets taken out so early, but is still just always important. Then we have Jihye. Jihye is easy A, if not S tier. Compared to some of these in A, I think I'll go top of A for now. Yeah, I'll go top of A for now, but I may be moving her up to S tier. Jihye is great. I love her. I love that we get this scene at the very beginning where it's like, okay, we're having the fight to the death at the girls' school or whatever. And it could very easily just be a one-off to show how this game goes, but then we actually get to see that character play a role later on. Plus, much like Kim Na-moon, she was part of the main story from before, so she gets to have that importance to the series while also actually being around. Her design is cool. I love her kind of smug attitude sometimes. The way she talks with Dokja is just really fun. Her relationship to Jung-hyuk is interesting. Like, she's interesting in so many ways, and I'm just talking myself into putting her in S tier. She moves up to S tier. I love Jihye. Or Vinicius saying she's a solid character, and then maybe he could have been an older brother. I think it'd be interesting to see his interactions with Gil Young. Like he's saying, he made an impression in the beginning and his relevance was pretty strong. And then Beatrice saying she's hilarious and still acts as a teenager, but has a serious and badass moments as well. I love her. I love her too. I think that's important to note too. Like, her just having this attitude with Dokja and everything is very fun, but also her just being a really cool character with really awesome abilities. I think she's really cool. One of my favorites. Hyun Sung, I thought about B tier for a second, but I will go A. I always compare Hyun Sung and Sang-ah to Ida and Uraraka from My Hero Academia, where they are some of the first allies that the main character meets. They are some of like these first close allies, but they're often on screen. They often don't do much of anything, and I feel like Hyun Sung's a character that we will dive into in the future, but we haven't yet. I feel like we've been around over 100 chapters and we have not really mined deep into his character at all. Like, he is shallow so far. He just follows Dokja around. He has loyalty to Dokja, but we haven't really got deep into his character like we have some of the others, even after all this time. And again, that feels very much like my opinions on Ida from Hero Academia, where he's a character that I feel like we don't always go that deep into, even though they've been around as one of the main character's closest allies from about the start. I actually do think I'll put Hyun Sung below Abyssal Black Flame Dragon. I'm actually going down to B. I really like him, and I really liked him in the early game, and I think he has like S tier potential. I think he has S tier potential. I just don't think we've done much of him character-wise yet. And then Captain Korean is my pure little boy. He deserves a lot. Again, I really like him. I really like him. But I just feel like we have just not gotten into his character. And that maybe disappoints me a little bit, but I'm willing to be patient and wait for it to happen. Gil Young was one of my early favorites. I think when I did my ranking early on at like chapter 50 or whatever, he might have been kind of high. He was an early favorite of me, but I feel like Gil Young stocks have fallen off since we've had multiple very, 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 very good arcs with him not around. But he is still very good. I'm going to say right here, I was struggling with should he be above or below Lycaon. I'll put him above Lycaon, but again, he was a character that I think his early trajectory was like one of the best for me, but he's kind of fallen off as both he hasn't been around through some very, very good arcs, but also the series has been introducing a lot of incredibly good characters that I like more. Like, we get introduced to Yu Sung, and I'm like, wow, she's just like better Gil Young. I'm just like, wow, she's better Gil Young. So they're characters, and again, we're introducing like Han Soo-young, who I like more. Yoo Jung-kyuk is getting some actual deep character development I like more. So it's like he was really great at first, but then we just introduced more characters who were even better. Then Vinicius says Ida and Uraraka don't even come close to Hyun Sung and Sang-ah, and then we're only at the introduction phase for this character. We'll get more Hyun Sung, we just gotta be patient. That's my opinion, is I feel like I'll get more, I'm willing to be patient, but for right now, he's just not my favorite. A lot of them will get more development later on. My boy, Gil Young. Gil Young was, one of my absolute favorites, but I think A tier, he's still A tier, but I wouldn't go S yet, right now. Now then, I would go S for Yusung. I really love Yusung. She showed up, got a lot of development very quickly, and I just really, really love her. I love her design. Her design's one of my favorites in the series so far. I don't think I'd put her above Ji-hye yet, but she's up there. She's one of my total favorites. Huiwon, also one of my total favorites in the beginning. Still very, very cool. It's just she runs into a similar problem to Gil Young, where we took this time with the characters being separated to dive deeper into Sang-a's character just a little bit, way deeper into Soo-young's character, way deeper into Yoo Jung-hyuk's character, way deeper into Dokja's character. Like, we separated, it's been dozens of chapters, we dove really deep into these other characters, but we haven't really dove deep into Huiwon's character in a while, and so, like, going a couple dozen chapters and just now seeing her show back up, really, I think, has not done her a great service. That said, she's still probably one of my favorites. I still think I would put her above Ji Hye. And now that she's back, I hope we see more of her. Do I put her above Bi Young? I don't. I don't actually put her above Bi Young. I think right here, second place so far. But we still have some of the main characters to get to. And they have my daughter, or well, Dokja's daughter, says Beatrice. So I would go here, and then we're down to our last 5. I love saving these 3 for last. We'll do Sang-a, who again I would say is Uraraka Ida situation, where I feel like she doesn't really get that much deep character development. She is cool, and I think there are a lot of really cool, really awesome, as you can see from my list, female characters in ORV, but I think she gets, to me, as a character, way, and this isn't a critique of the writing, this is my personal opinion on the character, I think with all the development she has, which hasn't been a ton to be fair, I still think she gets way overshadowed by Soo-young, way overshadowed by Huiwon, and even overshadowed by Yu-sung. If we're talking like favorite female characters in the series, I would easily, a million times out of a million, pick one of those 3 over Sang-a. I think Sang-a's really good. I like her design, I like her character, but I just would not put her even in the same atmosphere as some of those others. As much as I like her character, I like her more than Lycaon, I think. I think I prefer Gil Young to her, though. And I think I'm underrating Gil Young. I'd put her above Catastrophe of Questions too. I don't know. Like, I think it's just that she got a tiny bit more development than Hyun-sung. I think on a personal level, there's a lot that I like more about Hyun-sung than Sang-a on a personal level, but I think that Sang-a's just gotten a teeny bit more development. See, this is where I'm struggling, because I think if I'm trying to be objective, I think that she's gotten a bit more development, she should be up here, but if I'm being biased and just saying who are my favorites, if you were to ask who was my favorite between her and Hyun-sung, I'd probably say Hyun-sung. So should she really be up here? It's weird that... Yeah, that's so weird. Because if you were to ask who I like better between Hyun-sung and Sang-a, I would say Hyun-sung. But Hyun-sung, like when I'm looking at this list, I would be like, yeah, I'm putting him below the Abyssal Black Flame Dragon. I'm putting him below Lycaon. I'm putting him below the Catastrophe of Questions. But then I look at Sang-a and I'm like, no, I wouldn't put her below any of them. I would put her below Gil Young. I'm going to keep Gil Young below these 2 for now. He hasn't done much in a while. I think this is where Sang-a is going to go. Maybe I do like Sang-a more than Hyun-sung. And it just takes me comparing them to other characters to find that out. And then, sorry, gotta see where I was. And then Beatrice says, oh, Huiwon, she's actually my favorite character of the novel after Dokja. And then I understand she was away for some time. And then Vinicius says, my boy, let's remember we're still inside the capital. Huiwon says, Lucky says, Huiwon's incredible. She just gets better and better. Vinicius says, let's remember the characters haven't had time to relax together since they were separate. Marcus says, Sang-a hate is crazy. Lucky says, I personally like Sang-a more than Huiwon, but it might be just me. Lucky says, I love them both a lot, though. And Marcus says, it'll be easier to have opinions when all the characters get their screen time for sure. Yeah, true. Vinicius says, knowledge can be a curse because there's so much I want to say, but I must hold back to not spoil the experience. Thank you. But yeah, I really do like Sangha. I do think I would put her here. I definitely wouldn't put her below these three, even though I would put Hyunsung below those three. But again, I just think that, to me, I guess that's the difference between S tier and A tier. I just would not like these 4 S tier characters so far. I wouldn't even like, to me, if you were to ask between her and Hyunsung, like I said, I would be conflicted. But if you were to ask me between her and Huiwon, it's like not even a competition. Then we have Adult Yusung, who I also think is S tier. The alternate regression Yusung. Do I like her more than the like current regression Yusung? I don't think I do. I don't think I do. I almost want to put Dokgak in S tier. I don't know why. Do I really like Dokgak that much? Min Ji-won can be the gatekeeper at the top of A tier. Dokgak's moving up to S. I don't know why. Just looking at this list, I'm like, why is Dokgak in A? Why is Dokgak in S, though? I don't get it. It just vibes. I think this looks good for now. And then we get into, like, kind of somewhat top 3 kind of material. I'll do Jungkook before I do Yusung and Dokja, because I feel like Yusung and Dokja, to me, are the most developed characters, so I'll leave them for last. And then Jungkook is up there as well. Jungkook's also S tier. I didn't like him very much at first, but the more that we get into his character and Dokja's relationship with him, Dokja's relationship with the story, the more I like him more and more. And I like that my read on him when I'm reacting is he's like such an edgelord dork. I love it. He's like hanging out with his trench coat and his sword, and he's like, oh, I'm a pro gamer. He's like so over the top edgy that it's hilarious and funny to me. So I really like Jungkook. I actually think I like Ji-hye more than Jungkook, just on a personal level. And I like Yusung more than him, just on a... Oh, but that's close. That's close. I am, like, really conflicted on Yusung versus Jungkook, who I like more. I'll give a slight edge to Yusung, but Jungkook is up there. Like, these two, I think, are a close competition for me. Whereas Ji-hye, I would definitely say I prefer Ji-hye to Jungkook. Just me personally. And then Dokgak and S tier off Vibes and Slurs. I don't know why. Dokgak to me is just... I really liked the stuff that Dokgak did, and I just... When I'm talking about characters that I personally like, I love the design. I just really like Dokgak. Top 3, Adult Yusung is solid in my opinion. Those 3 are S plus easy. For me, Dokja's first, Sooyoung, then Jungkook, in a fight for second place for the entire novel. Mark is saying, honestly, comes off a lot different in the novel. Vinicius saying, Beatrice, you're absolutely right, with Dokja at first, and then Sooyoung and Jungkook. Yoo Jungkook just doesn't get the inner monologue and details in the manhwa. Lucky saying Jungkook's my favorite character. Sometimes he steals the top spot from Dokja, but then Dokja always claws his way back to the top somehow. And then, yeah, the webtoon takes out some of the best moments of Jungkook. That's true. We haven't really seen Jungkook's internal monologue. Me as just a manhwa reader, everything we've gotten of Jungkook and his character has been based on Dokja's impression of him. I kind of like that, though, because we see how Dokja's impression of him is warped at first, and how that warped impression kind of starts getting broken down, much like the fourth wall, where Dokja's getting more immersed. He's seeing him more as a person, and he's seeing the tiny details of Jungkook's life and experience that, just as somebody reading a novel, Dokja didn't really get. Dokja didn't really understand it until he was kind of, I mean, at one point he's literally walking in his shoes, but literally right here in the thick of it, seeing what he sees, Dokja didn't really fully get that perspective until now. And I think that while that may harm Jungkook's character presentation in the manhwa, I think it enhances Dokja's overall character writing to see that. And then we've got... Sorry, hold on a sec. Then Beatrice says, yeah, I read that. And then, hold on, let me try this. is that Bez, Bez security, yeah, security, and then but is that? Oh, and then there's another one. Laska, is that it? Sorry, trying my best to read the Cyrillic here. Soo-young is just her. Should I just call you Biz? I think the third character is but Soo-young is just her. She's triple S plus for me. Correct me if I got your name wrong. Beatrice says, like during the first arc, we got in the novel a bit of Jungkook's thoughts about Dokja. MC Brownie says, it's still sad how they've taken out the scene of Jungkook waiting 3 days for Dokja. True, they just kind of mentioned that, right? And how we waited for Dokja 3 days to get out of the dragon water monster. They mentioned that, didn't they? Even if they didn't, like, actually show it. I think they mentioned that, because for some reason it sounds familiar to me. But either way, let's go into what are possibly the top two characters. I'm not even going to play around with S and just put Soo-young into S+. She's incredible. So good. Yeah, I don't even know what more to say. I don't even know how to analyze or break down her character. I love the role in the plot that she's played. I love her personality. I love her design. I especially love her relationship with Dokja and all of her conversations with Dokja. I think that relationship and those interactions with Dokja are like really what solidify her, but literally everything about her. Her design, her personality, her story, literally everything is like my favorite in ORV. Like, again, I guess spoilers, she's my favorite, and then I would put Dokja below Yusung, but above everybody else, and I would fill in my top three. My top three, my S+, are Soo-young, Dokja, who is, again, the main character, incredibly well written. In the early game, I was like, oh, I don't know how I'm feeling. He's kind of just this main character that gets literally all of the attention, all of the depth, all of the writing. But now that we've developed the characters and the story around him more, the characters and story around him have kind of caught up to him. And not only have they caught up to him, but Dokja just gets better and better. Something that I always praise in my reactions is that so many series are afraid to have their main character make mistakes, or to have their main character look bad, or to have their main character not just be the best all the time, but ORV isn't afraid to have Dokja just make mistakes, and that makes him a better character. Sometimes he just messes up. Or have Dokja not look good. Sometimes Dokja just doesn't get the best light. Sometimes he doesn't look the coolest. Sometimes he doesn't look the best. And that makes him even better as a character. It makes him more understandable, more relatable. It makes it feel like he's not just some untouchable god. And to have him not always be the strongest, not always be the best, not always be the right fit, the right solution for whatever problem that the group is facing at the moment. But he always brings the group together in order to, find the right person in the group, the right solution for things. And again, the way that he's doing things to bring the group together and to bring the ending that he wants to bring, and the more he gets to understand this world and the people that he thought were characters, the more he connects with characters like Jungkook, and his interactions and relationship with Jungkook are incredible. I love his interactions and relations with the others in the S+ tier. With Byung, I love his relationship with Byung. It's so good. His relationship with Soo-young is incredible. I think that, again, he is just I'm usually not a main character guy. If you watch any of my other reactions, any of my other tier lists I've done, you know that this is like special for me. I usually don't rate main characters that highly. I am a big side character fan. I am a big wide cast fan. I'm usually not a big main character guy, but Dokja is just such a good main character. He is probably one of the best, or one of my favorite main characters. Like, so often when I hear main character, I'm like, they get all the attention. They always have to look the best or the strongest. They oftentimes take story away from the other members of the cast that really should have been used to develop or tell the story of the rest of the cast. So I often think bad things when I'm like, oh, the main character. But Dokja is just like the best. Like he's such a well done, such a good main character. So I do think that's my top 3. And then let me check everybody's chats here. And then Vinicius says, there's a reason why those 3 are considered the main trio. They're a reader, main character, and author, even if by plagiarizing. There's no better harmony points. Drifted said, Sooyoung S+, best character for me. Beatrice says, Sooyoung, I love her. Lucky says, they didn't mention it. We just got a panel of him staring downward. Okay, so they didn't mention it. For some reason, I guess just false memory by hearing you talk about it. Vinicius says, Sooyoung S+, let's go. Undisputed goat of ORV, says Marcus. Lucky says, Sooyoung's so freaking good. She is her. She is indeed her. McBrownie says, yeah, they showed Jungkook staring down and then leaving. Beatrice says, I love how she's a feral cat. Not in the cute cat girl type, but in the cat that you wouldn't take your eyes, or that would take out your eyes if you something type of way. And then Bez Sukru Bud. Okay. Laska. No sugar, please, in English. Nice try. Tried my best. But once they trust you, they would just stay by your side, says Beatrice. Beatrice says, Dokja's such a rat bastard. I hate him. I love him more than I love myself, and he's always putting me in deep misery. He's so good. Lucky says, Dokja's my favorite character of all time. He's just that good. Beatrice says, same. Normally I prefer side characters, but Dokja just said nope and hasn't let go since. That's me. He's just such... Again, I'm not a big main character guy, but he's just such a good main character. And then Drifted says, base top 3. Vinicius says, makes him feel like he's not an untouchable god. There's irony in the quote, but I'll stay quiet. Lotus says, same here as well. His character's so well done. And Marcus says, Black Cat energy for sure. Yep. So here, let me glance through, see if I need to switch anybody around now that I caught up with chat. I say Who tier is fine. F tier is fine. Yeah, D tier is good. C tier, I think, is good. Yeah, I really don't really care that much about, I was about to call her real song again, Seohwa. I don't really care that much about Seohwa. There was a part of me that wanted to, again, just be awful and put her down in D tier, but I think she's fine at bottom of C, even though I think I'm more excited for these other characters in C tier, even the guy whose name I always forget in the Constellation we're probably not seeing much more of. I would say these 3 are the mid aspect of C tier. These 3 are the haven't done anything yet, but I want to see more of them aspect of C tier. And this guy is the both. Both kind of mid so far, and also I want to see more of. He's kind of both of those. B tier, characters I like, but just aren't the best. Just characters that I want more of. It hurts to see Hyunsung down there, because I really, really do like Hyunsung. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, I just wish he did more. I love his personality. I love his character so far, but I just don't think we've gotten... Like, when I compare the story we've gotten from him to, like Aon's story or Myung Il Sung's story, I just think that their stories were much more deep and have been much better. So B tier, just characters I like, but not the best. A tier, just really good characters that I really like. Again, I would like to see more out of some of them. Like, I'd like to see a lot more out of Sang-ah. Sang-ah is, like, not my favorite, but I do really like her. I want more. Much like with Hyunsung, I want more. Min Ji-won I really like. S tier are, like, some of my favorites. I think S tier is, like, favorite tier. Dokgak really is the outlier, but I just love Dokgak's design. Look at their face. I love their face. That's kind of favorite tier. So I think I would keep things in this order. I'm trying to pay attention to the order here. Like Dokgak versus Jungkook, I like Jungkook more. Jungkook, there's a part of me that wants to put him above Yusung, but there's another part of me that says, nah, Yusung should be higher. It's a close race between them. And when it comes to the 2 versions of Yusung, I kind of slightly prefer the version that's going to be staying with us, the current version. And then Jihye. I think Jihye is not like way above these 4, but is solidly above these four. Like, it's not as much of a competition. I'm like, yeah, I like her more. Same with Hui Won. I'm like, yeah, I like her more. Hui Won and Ji Hye really do round out my top 5. And then I think these top 3 are just at a different level, where a lot of you were saying, your top 3, your main characters are Sooyoung, Dokja, and Jungkook. My top 3 characters, my ones that I'm invested in are Sooyoung, Dokja, and Bi-young. I love the 3 of them, and I love their relationship to Dokja. I love each of these 2 and their relationship to Dokja. Jungkook, I think, again, started out slow for me, but again, I love his relationship with Dokja, so he could easily be moving up it would take very little. It would take very little for him to move up more to S+. It would take very little for Hui Won to move up to S+. It'd take very little for Hyun Sung to get a big jump. I really just want a little bit of actual deep character development because I love him so much. I just am looking for an excuse to put him even higher. Then checking out what everybody said. Vinicius says, question, if Sang-ah was in a dress, would you love her more? No, I'd probably like her less even. I like Sang-ah's design a lot. I like her design a lot. Marcus says, honestly, Hui Won might be S+. Yeah, Hui Won's close for me. Hui Won's very close to S+. She's definitely my 4th place, like solidly my 4th place. Lucky says, I love how there's so many amazing female characters in the ORV cast. It's rare for an action fantasy manhwa. I agree. I actually think manhwa, I haven't read a lot of manhwa. Basically, you've seen my experience here on the channel with manhwa. You've basically seen Tower of God, Omniscient Reader, Kubera, and from the sample size that I have, just from my sample size of 3 series, all 3 of those series have incredibly good female casts. All of them are like really, really, really great, where the female characters are just routinely some of the absolute best, treated as some of the strongest, some of the coolest. Like, it doesn't just feel like, oh, there's female characters and male characters. It's like, no, they are just the characters and they are just good. They're just treated very, very well. And that, again, might come from me only reading these 3 when I'm only reading these 3, and I know that outside of these 3, when I just scroll through webtoons, I just glance through what's going on with manhwa, there's like 50,000 stories that are just like, OP main character reincarnation triple S grade regression. I know a lot of those things are tropes in ORV, but ORV's using them in a referential way. It's all just OP main character does things and is OP and defeats everybody and everybody loves him. But just from my small sample size, it's really well done. Then Beatrice says, I'd love for the character list to change in the future, or to see how it changes in the future. Yeah, I'll do another one in the future. I don't know exactly when with the page break. I know Lucky and Alvaro have been saying to do it somewhere in the early 200s. So maybe I'll do another stream to do this in the early 200s. I'd like to do, once I'm like getting more caught up, I'd like to do more videos other than just the reactions in general. And then Marcus says, are you doing any reading after this? No, I'll get back to the read through next week. I am going to end this and then probably go eat dinner and watch Amy Angel's Tower of God stream. If that didn't get canceled or anything, she usually does that at like 8:30 p.m. for me. So I'm probably going to go watch that and eat some dinner. And then I still have not edited, rendered, or uploaded my my Tower of God anime reaction. I recorded that all the way on Sunday, but I haven't had time to get to it yet, so I'm going to go do that after this too. And then we have, oh boy, the future looks funny then from Vinicius. Even in manhwa and manga with female main characters, for some reason, they just use them for fan service. I don't think fan service is a bad thing, and I think series with fan service can oftentimes have some of the best written female characters. But I will say that in my experience with manga, again, having read a lot of manga, I think the issue you run into is there are, in some manga, maybe even in most manga, issues where I said in these series, there's not really a sense of male characters and female characters. They're just all characters, and like good characters are good. And I think that helps the female characters be even better when it's not a point to compare them and to be like, oh yeah, girl power, because I think that often is reductive towards them. But there's a sense in a lot of manga that I get when reading. I'll use Naruto as an example because it's one of the worst, where Kishimoto cannot write female characters, where very often in manga you can take the strongest male characters or the most respected main characters, or the most powerful, not just in strength but in power, male characters, and the strongest or most powerful or most or well-respected female characters, and there's just a big difference. There's just a gap in the treatment of them. There's a gap in how the strongest male characters are treated and how the strongest female characters are treated. And I think the series with the best female characters are characters where the best female characters stand on even footing with the best main characters, and there's not that separation between them where you can tell that one is getting more attention. I think that often series where you just, like in ORV, I don't feel that difference. I don't feel a difference. Like, again, Naruto female cast, we have crying emojis from Lucky. Again, the way that Tsunade is treated is so different than the way that Jiraiya and Orochimaru are treated. The way Sakura is treated is not at all like the way that Naruto and Sasuke are treated. Meanwhile, in ORV, the way that Su-young is treated, or the way that Huiwon's treated, or the way that Sangha is treated, isn't really that different than the way that Jungkook or Dokja are treated. I would say Huiwon is the best example of that. I'd say Huiwon's the best example, where you look at the way that Huiwon's treated and the way that Jungkook's treated by Dokja, and yeah, one is like a character in the story, the main character of the fictional story at that, but the way that Dokja looks at them or treats them, and the way the story of ORV looks at them and treats them, is like, you just don't get this big gap in the treatment of Huiwon and Jungkook. And I think that's what makes the difference, is when you don't have this gap in the treatment of the characters when compared to a lot of manga I've read, where you can take some of the strongest female characters and strongest male characters and they're just treated differently. But Beatrice says, even in manhwa and manga... Okay, yeah, no, sorry, I read that. Vinicia says, did someone say quintuple S grade infinite regressor? Han Soo-young's on her way. Han Soo-young is the one writing all of the generic webtoons. Then Beatrice says, like, Sakura was progressing and having a character arc, but then Sasuke appears and everything disappears. Even from the beginning, I think in the early days, the writing of the female characters in Naruto, I'm getting way off topic, was a little bit better. I think it was a little bit better in the early game, and especially like for Sakura, using her as an example, because she's often complained about as like one of the worst. It's like, she wasn't written awfully, but she wasn't written very well either, like right from the beginning. Again, I just don't think Kishimoto was good at writing female characters, period. But like, she wasn't that well written from the beginning, but I feel like early part 2, early post time skip, it seemed like they were going somewhere. And then, you know, they stopped. They stopped going somewhere and never went anywhere again. We just never went anywhere. And I feel like that happens a lot. Lotus says the one power shot if we won in that last fight, I think it's being used in the picture there. Perfection. Again, I just think that the way that these characters are treated is equal, and when you're treating all of these characters equally, it gives your female characters a chance to shine. It gives them their own chance for people to be like, yeah, I don't care about male or female. I think this character is sick. She's awesome. She's amazing. And I think that there are also sort of unique ways that you can do with both male and female characters, but that can tug on your emotions and instantly get you, like seeing Huiwon being mistreated so much at the very kind of beginning of the series by the original group just immediately builds this emotional connection. Like, I want to see her step up, and you can do that with a male character too, but I think that early on you can just get Huiwon and be like, I really have this emotional connection, and then from there the series doesn't just say, oh, she's a damsel in distress, Dokja needed to save her. Instead, the series is like, she's kind of strong, in a scary way. Like Huiwon is scary strong in the first arc that she's introduced in, and we just continue seeing her get stronger and stronger. So it's like you can quickly, by having a character male or female, but especially like what was done with Huiwon here, you can immediately get that emotional hook onto the character, and then she could have just continued to be a damsel in distress, but instead of that, we just made her like crazy strong. And like, again, like I mentioned with Dokja, where we don't always have to have Dokja being the one getting the attention, having Dokja get the final blow. We just got that with Huiwon, and it was incredible. And then, like Beatrice says, but she is actually just a woman trying her best to survive. I love, or saying that about Sang-ah. I love Sang-ah because people thought, including me, that she would just be the female lead, but she's actually just a woman trying her best to survive. And I think that's great. And then, like he says, I'm excited to see you get more of the mysterious characters like Anna Croft, Dokja's mom. Kind of spoiled, or already spoiled, but kind of obvious. It wasn't spoiled. Nobody told me that it was Dokja's mom. I just assumed that it was Dokja's mom. I mean, I did see, I think I might have saw references in other people's titles before that Dokja's mom was like a part of the story. Like somebody might have had like Dokja's mom in one of their titles or something. But so I might have known that she was part of the story, but I think that him first meeting the woman in the mask, I was like, and then like we had already seen the flashbacks with his mom stuff. So we had already seen those flashbacks. He meets this woman in the mask and is terrified, and he clearly has like not just a connection, but an intimate connection with her. I'm like, okay, like it seems fairly clear that that's supposed to be his mom. Like they didn't outright say it, but I'm like, that just seems kind of clear. Vinicius says, I like the fact that because the characters in TWSA feel so human, even though they are, is in a way showing how good the author of TWSA is. True, because Dok just steps into this story and he starts seeing what their actual lives are like. Like he says, sorry for spoiling it. It's not really a spoiler because I am just completely assuming. I was already completely assuming. I was already like 100% on the train of that's Dokja's mom. Like getting a confirmation reveal wouldn't have got a like crazy reaction out of me because I have been for forever now just being like, oh yeah, that's like since we first met her, and like we saw his reaction to her, I've just been like, oh yeah, that's Dokja's mom. Mick Brownie says, I love Sang-ah's character. Even in the world such as this, she can still be gentle and kind, even when she can defend herself now. True, she does still just have the same Sang-ah that Dokja talked about knowing before the apocalypse started is the same Sang-ah we see now in the events of the apocalypse. She is the same person, even though now she has power. And that's really, really good. Again, I think she's a really good character. That's why I put her in A tier, even though she's not one of my personal favorites. Like, I don't feel like I have that deep of a personal connection to Sang-ah. I think that she is just well written. I think she's more well written than just a chunk of these characters. That's my take on her. But yeah, either way, I guess there's done. Anything more that any of you want me to talk about, I'll talk about. If not, I'm gonna go eat, watch that stream I mentioned, and then work on the Tower of God anime video. I think, though, actually, let me check something. I don't think you can see this on screen. Okay, yeah. So, again, sorry, Beatrice says, I think that because all the characters are so human, when they need to get saved, it doesn't feel like a moment to make Dokja's character better. True, I really, really, really like it. I like that not everything is always about Dokja. We can have things, and again, when we were talking about like how good the female cast is, I think that's something that helps the female cast too. Not everything has to be about Dokja. Most of it connects to Dokja. Dokja has great relationships with these characters, especially some of my favorite characters like Jung-hyuk and Yu-sung, and Soo-young, Yu-sung and Soo-young. And Hui-Won, his relationship with Hui-Won's pretty good too. I like that Hui-Won is a character who's not afraid to just be really casual and joke around with him. I love that about Hui-Won's character. Beatrice says, bye-bye, take care, thank you for the stream. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Thank you all so much for interacting so much, for talking so much with me, chatting so much. Thank you to Laki for putting the template together for me. Massive, massive, huge thank you to all of you for being here. What I was checking a second ago that I wanted to say is if any of you are interested in Tower of God, I am going to go watch Amy Angel's Tower of God stream, so I'll shout that out and say go watch that. Or obviously, all of you are interested in ORV. Ron Can started streaming ORV an hour ago. Go check out Ron Can's ORV stream. Venetia says, always good to remember that TWSA had chapters fully made of how to cook rat meat in the beginning. How does one write characters so well but does world building so badly? I think late game getting more into the author of TWSA is going to be some of the most interesting stuff. And sorry it says you're getting hit with an ad, so I'm going to hurry up, end this soon. I just wanted to really thank you all for being here and to say go check out Ron Can's stream on Twitch. He's streaming ORV right now. He started an hour ago. I would assume he's still streaming because he often does kind of long streams. Go say hi. Go say Haku sent you from his ORV stream. Or if you're interested in Tower of God, I don't know if it already started or if it's starting in a little bit. If you're interested in Tower of God, go check out Amy Angel's stream. That'll be here on YouTube. But either way, huge thank you to all of you. Thank you for being here. Like if you did like this, if you're a VOD person out there, thank you so much for sticking through the VOD and everything. Venetia says bye 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 bye. If you're a VOD watcher, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. If you were in the chat too, like if you did like the stream, VOD, whatever, comment down there in the comments. Let me know what you thought of my list. What is your list? Anything you want to let me know? Like, even if you were in chat, if you want to make your own list, just let me know. Just say something down in the comments. Subscribe, please. It would be amazing to, again, like I said, hit 10K before Be Young. So if you want to subscribe, it would be appreciated. Like, comment, subscribe, follow on Twitter if you want. If you want a link to the Discord server, it's free and open for anyone. Just ask down in the comments and I can give you a link. And yeah, if you want to help support the channel, get One Piece videos a little bit early, get your name at the end of every video and stream, I do that here. Let me just go ahead and shift over to the patron screen. If you want to, hit join down below to become a patron. Drop a super thanks if you'd like to. And if you'd like to become a patron, go to patreon.com/HakuOfTheTubes, or a link will be in the description. And I almost forgot, I didn't see any... Okay, I was just double checking because I didn't know if it would hide any super chats from me if there were any, because there's a different tab for it for some reason, but it doesn't look like I missed any. I just wanted to check. So yeah, thank you so much. If you are already a patron and channel member, thank you to Chosen Regular, Evan Holly, Magical Girls, Efronono, Abyss Knight, JA, and the D-Ban. Thank you to Cherryton students, David Langstaff and Folded Ghoul. Thank you to Slayer candidates, SG and Stan Cedar, and thank you to Pure Element, Paterial. Thank you so much for watching, for being a part of this. There's always a bit of a delay after I stop talking, and I feel like I always cut myself off early. So I'll just sit here for a couple seconds, maybe just talk, maybe just yammer on a bit, so that when I do finally, eventually stop streaming, it will it'll just cut me off in the middle of a meaningless sentence, not in the middle of me reading out names or anything, but yeah, that's it. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much, and I'll see you all. Yeah, I'll see you all next time.